Hey everybody, it's Sarah with Paint and Party. I hope you are doing great today. I'm really excited to paint with you. You'll have to forgive my voice a little bit. I have been really sick for a long time. I've completely lost my voice over the holidays. And so I'm back, but it's a little scratchy. So bear with me. But I really wanted to paint today. I really wanted to make a video. So I was looking through some of my old paintings, and I found this kind of fall, flowery, bright picture, and I thought, let's turn this into a spring painting. So we're gonna paint these big kind of sunflower looking flowers in some spring pastel colors. So I am going to walk you guys through my process of drawing the flowers on my paper all the way to painting. So hopefully it's not a stressful process for you guys drawing it on. If so, I did attach a PDF with a download that you can actually trace the flowers on. If you want, you just need some carbon paper, like the black paper that you put on, and you can make some lines on your canvas or on your paper. But I always encourage people to try to draw with me. I've been doing paint parties for about 10 years now, maybe more than that. And I've started doodling and drawing a lot over the past few years during COVID and when I haven't been doing parties. And it's really helped my painting skills because my drawing skills have improved. So give it a try, especially if you're trying it just on paper. You know, you can just toss the paper. So if you've painted with me before, you've probably seen this, but I really like these mixed media pads. They're by Canson. You can get them at Michael's. You used to be able to get them at Walmart, but I think they stopped carrying them. You can get them on Amazon, but this is an 11 by 14 inch. You could also get an 11 by 14 canvas, but this is for acrylic, watercolor, pen, and pencil. So you want to make sure it's not a sketch pad. You want to make sure that it can handle the watercolor and acrylic paints, okay? So I've got this today. I've got some paintbrushes. There's nothing super special here. I am one that I like to kind of switch up my paintbrushes and use more than one. So I've got just kind of a mixed bag here of paintbrushes. I've got some water for my paintbrushes. I've got just an old towel that when I'm painting at home, I like to use that. And this is something new that I've been using. It's not new, but it's new to me. They're palette paper. So you can buy, this is from Michael's. This is Artist Loft brand, which I really like. But it's just paper that you can put your paint on. I don't know, I've just been using it instead of paper plates because I had it. So I just kind of cut it down a little bit. And then I've also got just my box of paints here. We're gonna just kind of wing it as we go. And of course at the end, I'll give you guys a list of the paints I'm gonna use, or the paints I did use. I think I'm gonna do the background in a light pink. So I'm just pulling out some light pinks here. I really like purple. And of course, turquoise is my favorite. Might add some yellow in. Maybe some orange and some green. So let's start with that. These are a mix of different types of paints. This one is from Craftsmart. This is the Michael's house brand. This one is Folk Art. You can get that a lot of different places. It's a little bit thicker of a paint than the Craftsmart. It's a little bit more expensive, not much, but let's see, what else do I have in here? The apple barrel that you can get at Walmart. I use a lot of that. I like it because it covers well. It is a thinner paint, but I do like it. So, okay, Well, let's start with that. I'm just gonna set these to the side, and then if I decide to add some more, we will, okay? I think it's about time to toss some of these paints and just start all over, but I have a hard time with that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I've got my image just like pulled up on my phone here so that I can make it similar to my other one. But I've just got a pencil and I'm gonna just sketch in some lines. I like to make sure my pencil has a good eraser because inevitably I always am erasing. But keep in mind that you want your painting to be your own. So you may want to make yours a little bit different than mine, and I love that. So we're gonna find about the center here. I'm just gonna make a little dot. And keep in mind all of these lines are gonna be covered, right? So they're all gonna be covered by paint. So this is just a half circle, which is, I'm trying to make it a little darker for you guys. You certainly don't need to make yours that dark. But that's gonna be the center of the sunflower there, okay? And then I'm gonna just start wherever, and I'm gonna make 2 lines here. And so I've got a petal. So that petal is kind of gonna dictate how big the rest of them are gonna be, right? So you wanna kind of try to keep them consistent. Of course, they're not all gonna be the same. So I'm gonna kind of take this. And they can be a little whimsical. You know, you can have some going one way, some going the other. And if you have a space, you could even do like a little baby one in there. Okay. It's not an exact science, right? All flowers look different in nature. And mine's gonna look totally different probably from the original. Right, I'm gonna put a little baby one in there. So take your time with this. You guys know you can pause me. You can, you know, take a break, come back later. I draw and paint way faster than most, so I get that. Okay, so here I got to the end. It's a little bit too wide. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just erase part of that. And I'm gonna bring my line in a little bit, okay? And then we can add another little one in the center if we want. I don't think I said this, I started to, but these centers are gonna be covered in by our paint, so don't worry about that too much. Now, when we get kind of down to this corner, we need to keep the circle going. So we need to kind of make our lines start to come a little bit this way. Okay. And then if you get close to the bottom, you can just kind of make them go off the page. So it's better to make it go off the side than to have like some weird looking leaf on there that doesn't make sense, okay? A lot of art goes off the sides. I mean, you guys know that. Okay. All right, and then up here, I'm gonna add just one more. Let's just kind of go off the page there. And maybe do the same thing down here. Okay. And I think I'll add one more little baby in here. Just kind of swoop that around a little bit. And you know, your ends, you can, when we go in to paint those, you can, you can extend them a little bit. You know, that's not hard with the paint, okay? All right, so depending on how much space you have up here is how big your other flower is going to be. So we've got this other flower that's just kind of up in the corner there. So I'm gonna just, let's see, how do I want to do this? I'm gonna move this a little bit. And I'm gonna start with my center. So we've got the corner of our paper. Okay, and if you're not done with this one, just take a break, give it a minute. And if you've got lines down here that are, you know, messed up, or you've got 2 lines, you don't have to erase those. They're really gonna cover up well with this paint. So just the ends need to be good, okay? All right, so I'm just gonna start right here in the middle because it's the closest to these. And I'm just gonna make a petal. And then make another one here. And we want one that just kind of goes off the page. Of course, yours will be different than mine. It's so hard to make it exact. Takes out the fun of it. All right. Okay, there we go. So we've got 2 flowers, and then these little swirlies, we will just freehand those. And you know, if you don't want them in your painting, you don't have to. When I hosted paint parties, we would get to the end and there would be little swirls or something, and people would always cringe because they were like, oh my gosh, I love my painting, I don't want to mess it up. So it's your call. Okay guys, so now that we have our flowers drawn on, we are going to work on paint. So I have got some light pink and some white. The light pink, if you want the exact color, it's Pink Blast from Craft Smart, which is the Michaels brand that I mentioned earlier. And I always buy a big bottle of white. I really like these. They're Artist Loft soft body acrylic paint. They're the only ones I think that come in this big bottle, but they used to be $10. They're probably more now. With everything is more now, but if you have a coupon or you know you catch them on sale, they're just a good value, and they're a little bit thicker. You can see if you look at the white versus the pink, it's just a little bit thicker paint. And then this turquoise is full car. So it's a little thicker too. You can see it just kind of stays together a little bit more. Whereas the pink is cheaper and it's got a little bit more water in it, and just, but it still covers well. So, okay, so what we're gonna do, I've got a big brush. So this is like either a 3/4 inch or 1 inch flat brush. Excuse me. You could also use like a big round brush. I like the flat brush just because it covers more area. And the type of background that we're going to do, I like the way that this does. We're gonna do like an X type background. So, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the pink and white for the background. I don't want it to be like bubblegum pink. I want it to be a little bit softer. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put some white on my brush and a little bit of the pink, and we're gonna come in and we're gonna make X's. Okay, and I'm gonna move my water. Maybe you guys can see it a little bit better. I'm gonna put a little bit of water on my brush and a little bit more paint. So you don't want to use too much water on this paper if you're using the notepad or the mixed media book, but you certainly can use water, so don't feel like you can't. I think water, if you've painted with me before, you've heard me say it's like magic. If you're struggling to get the paint on, if it's like peanut butter, then you need to add some water. Okay, so back to my painting here. So you guys can see I went on top of those lines a little bit. It's totally okay because my flower is going to be turquoise and it is going to cover. Okay, so and that gives it a little bit more of a smooth look. So you're not going in and like detailing. You just, now granted, I really don't see any need to fill the whole thing in, but you can you can just cover it up. And I'm just not blending that color all the way. So it's giving it some dimension in there where you can see some white, some pink. If you overblend, then you lose that dimension and you've just got like a baby pink, which is fine if that's what you want. No big deal. But if you're struggling to get that look where there's some pink and some white, you're probably overblending. And you can see those brush marks in there. I'm just gonna leave it like that. That's kind of the goal. And if you have any pencil marks out here, if you can't get them covered with the pink, you can always add a layer of white on there, but I would definitely encourage you to try to really erase any that are outside. And then if you put like a base coat of white, let it dry really well, and then go over it with your pink and white. Ooh, I'm getting awfully pink down here in this corner. And of course you could choose a different color. You don't have to do pink. The pink blends really well with the white. If you were doing something darker, like a black, like doing like a gray or something like that, you would just use a teeny bit of black. I always say start with the white and a teeny bit of the other color just to kind of test the waters and see how much you need. Let's see, did I get it all? So I really like this background. It's messy. It just kind of adds some texture to the painting. I enjoy doing it. I think it's fun. It allows you to be messy instead of, you know, no stress zone, right? Okay. Awesome. Okay, so again, make sure, you know, if you guys want to pause me, you can. Oh, I had to get a drink of water. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit more clean white on here. I'm gonna put it next to my turquoise. And you guys can see that background doesn't use very much paint. I really didn't use very much of my pink at all. And the water, you know, thins it out a little bit too. Now with the flower, we will definitely use a little bit more paint, but we won't go crazy. Okay, but whatever color you decide to do for your flowers, so say you're doing orange, say you're doing purple, whatever it is, I would definitely encourage you to do a lighter color with it. So say you're doing purple, you could do like a light pink. If you were doing, I don't know, dark blue, you could do like a really light blue. Now I'm gonna stick with the turquoise and the white. So what the white is gonna do is help with that shading and making it look like a flower. Okay. So I am gonna use, this is like a 1/2 inch medium-sized brush. Also going to use a skinny brush. And I will probably use, this is just a round brush. I don't know what number, I think it's the number 3. But if you buy like one of those kits that has all the paintbrushes in it, you should have all of these in there. Okay. So I'm gonna just start with this round brush. And my background is pretty dry. So I'm just gonna go for it here. So you can see I'm just kind of mixing some of the turquoise and white together. But on my brush, it's not a perfect mix, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start at the base of the flower, the base of the petal. And we wanna make consistent brush strokes. So you don't wanna go in and just start going like this. Like you wanna kind of go with the petal. And if you start doing this and you're like, oh, I don't like this brush, try a different one. Brushes are a preference. Some people like brushes that I would never consider using for, you know, like a certain project, but you do you. Now, when we get to the end, that's probably where we're going to use that skinny brush. All right, so you guys can see I am loading the paint on here. And that's giving it some texture. Now, I usually like to do 2 coats on flowers. So, you have to think that the first coat doesn't, if you don't love it, that's okay. You just, you know, try to leave your OCD at the door and move on. So I've got this skinny mini brush here. Super light touch to get to the end. And even a little teeny bit of water will help you to get that sort of point at the end. Okay. All right, so we're gonna keep going. And all of our flowers painted, all of our petals painted in. And this center is gonna be dark, so it's okay if you get a little bit of your color in there. I'm gonna cover up those pencil lines. Now when I do the first coat, sometimes the like the petals start to look kind of like a blob. So it's like you can't see the definition between them. We'll do some shading on the second coat that will really help that. Okay, so what we're doing now is just trying to get that first coat on, and then we'll come back and we'll do some shading. And these are all going to be done the same way. So just to kind of save time on how long the video is, I'm going to fast forward myself through these. They're all going to be done the same way, and then we'll regroup. So go ahead and just pause me, finish up all your petals, and then we'll work on the next step. Okay, so I've got my first coat on my turquoise flower, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna paint the other flower while we're waiting on that first coat to just get really good and dry. So I decided to paint mine orange. So I've got orange, and I'm gonna mix a little bit of that pink with it and some white. So again, you know, you can choose whatever color you want. I almost did purple, but I decided on orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some orange in my brush with a little bit of white, and we're just going to start that same process. Now, orange is a little bit different of a color. Okay, so I got a little too much paint on there. So I'm going to just come to my next petal and get some of that paint off of my brush. It's just too much for that little. Orange is pretty see-through, like it's kind of translucent. No matter what brand you use, it's see-through. So I'm using a lot of white in this first coat to cover up my lines and get a good base on there. And then the second coat will brighten it up, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like if I add some pink with my orange. I think that would be kind of fun with this pink background. Pink and orange, or red and orange. make like a coral color that I just really like. So you can see. And again, I'm using a lot of paint. These mixed media pads will soak it right up, or your canvas. You can always grab a hair dryer too, if you're impatient on letting it dry. That's the really cool thing though I like about painting at home, is you have the option to take a break, go make dinner, or you know, whatever it is that you do. Just change out the laundry, I feel like, is what I'm usually doing. Okay, and then we've got this little guy over here. Give him a little bit of color. Okay, so that one is done now for the first coat. Okay. And you know, you can add as many colors as you want. So if you want to add some more color in here, like add some bright blue or add some purple, and by all means try it. The worst thing that can happen is that you have to repaint it. You have to let it dry. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. Let it dry and then go over it again. So no worries, right? Okay, so what brush do I want to use? All right. I am going to do, I think I'm going to go back to this round brush here. This one here. And I've still got turquoise and white on my little palette here. So what we want to do is we want to go in and first of all, we want to fill in any spots that we can kind of see through the paint or that we feel like definitely needs a second coat. The other objective is going to be to do some shading so that we can kind of outline these petals and give them some shape so that they don't look like, you know, like I said earlier, just kind of a big blob, okay? So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna put some white and green on my brush, and I'm gonna find the areas that I feel like maybe just need a little bit more paint, like right here. Just a little bit of that background was showing through. And right here I can see a little bit of pink. So I'm just kind of taking it petal by petal and filling these spots in. And which, depending on what color you use or, you know, how you did your first coat, you may need to go in and cover them all up. You know, that's, everybody's going to be different. And I do feel like some people are kind of afraid of the paint and go a little too light, and which is okay. You know, it's all a learning process. So, just kind of learn as you go. Okay. All right, so I think that one's pretty good. Make sure and cover up these pencil lines down here too. I can see where they are, but I'm still kind of following those lines, keeping with the same pattern. And like I just said, don't be afraid of the paint. Don't be afraid to really coat it on. And we're still gonna come back and do a little bit more shading. So right now I'm just kind of filling in the gaps and making sure we're covered. This end one needs a little work. Okay. All right, so from there, I've still got some green on my brush. If you're using white as your highlighter, which that's what I'm gonna teach, is you don't wanna go in there with straight white, okay? So I've already got some turquoise on my brush. I'm gonna put just a teeny bit of white on the end, and I'm gonna just very lightly just kind of come in along the edge of this petal. Now, you may not feel like yours need this. You know, the shading is, you know, you could shade all day, right? So, if you're like, oh, I like it, I'm good, just leave it, you know. And again, with the shading, if you put too much of something on, let it dry all the way. You have to be patient and really let it dry. And then come back over it with your color. And you can usually smooth just about anything out. Okay. So hopefully you guys are liking the way this is looking. I love flowers. I'm actually working on a course that is just different flowers. So when spring comes, we'll have a new tutorial, and it's going to be just flowers and multiple ways to paint them and doodle. Excited. Alright, I'm going to flip this around so I can see a little bit better. It's like cloudy today, and then it gets sunny. So my natural light is kind of messing with me a little here. And these flowers are fun, you know, like you can draw them in any size. I doodle these flowers all the time. You could use colored pencils, you could use Sharpies, you could use both. I like to do the Sharpies, the outline, and then come in and shade with a colored pencil. As you can see, I got just a little too much white there, so I'm just gonna wipe that off and come in and just give it a little bit more green. Turquoise, I guess it is. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of hold this back a little bit and look at it. All right, I like it. Sometimes when things dry, the color changes a little bit. So we may, you know, need to come back and do some other things. But I think at this point, we can just let this go. So go ahead and finish your shading. If you are ready to move on, I'm gonna go over and shade the other flower. But if you need to pause, that's cool. We're just gonna use the same brush again. If you need that skinny brush, it's fine too. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my pink and my orange and my white. So I've just kind of got like a mix of all of it on my brush. And the orange is gonna be a little bit harder to cover these lines, the pencil lines. So I'm just gonna kind of come in and cover those up and give it another coat. I think this flower would have looked really great in yellow too. But yellow is a lot like orange, where it's very see-through. And it's kind of hard to cover up those lines. So, but if you wanted yellow, you could add some yellow in on the top, which I could actually show you guys that. How to do some shading like with a different color. I think yellow would really add to this a lot. Let's give this one down here a little bit more. And same with this one. All right. So I'm gonna put a little bit of yellow. So this is an apple barrel yellow. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of it here and put it on my little palette. And you wanna make sure you still have some white. I'm gonna rinse my brush out. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take some yellow and a little teeny bit of orange. And where we shaded the white up top or on this flower, I'm gonna kind of do that with this yellow. Okay, so I'm gonna just come in here along the edge and just kind of give it some extra, little extra color in there. I like it. And you could do it wherever you want it. I mean, you can kind of do it towards the bottom. Do it around the edges. You could add a whole bunch or a little or none at all. But I just wanted to show you guys a little bit how that works, how that looks. You have to kind of stick in the same color palette. Like you don't want to go in with blue or something and try to mix it with your orange. You would end up with a muddy mess. But you could do red. You could do brown if it was like you wanted a fall look. Pinks. So in that family. But even just white and orange will make a beautiful flower. I just love mixing the colors. It's very therapeutic to me. It's like I feel like I'm making it kind of come to life or something. I don't know. Okay, so I could do this, you know, like I said, all day, but I think I'm going to let that one be. Put my brush in the water. And then if you feel like there's anything else that you need to do to touch up your big flower, now's the time to do that. And then what we'll do is we'll work on the centers. And we'll get those done. And then we'll be all done. I'm going to just kind of... needs a little something right there. Okay, put the brush down. Now, what I'm going to do for my centers, I'm going to do gray. So I'm going to do a dark gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my black paint. So I've got just a little Craft Smart guy here. And I'm going to put a teeny drop. Doesn't take very much black paint to make it gray. I think you could do like a dark brown. You could do, I don't know. I think that might be about it. Gray, dark brown. Okay, so I've got a big brush. This is one of those 3/4 inch brushes. I've got white and I've got a teeny bit of black. Take some of this white over here. Okay. And I'm just kind of dabbing it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in and we're just gonna dab. We wanna be able to see both colors a little bit. We don't want it to be a flat color. Can have some spots darker. And what we wanna do is we wanna dab right up to the edge. So go right over that pencil line. Now if this big brush seems to be a little too much for you, like you're getting out of the edges, get a smaller one. Even a round brush will work for this dabbing. But you can see this brush is a little jagged at the end. Those kind work the best for the dabbing. I always hate to take a brand new brush and do this because I feel like I'm gonna ruin it. All right. It doesn't ruin it though. It washes right out and then comes right back. As long as you wash it right away. Make sure you wash your brushes quickly. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm terrible at it. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of dark up in this corner, just kind of like a shading. Okay. Now I'm gonna just let that dry. And then once I kind of look at the whole picture at the end, we'll see if it needs something different. I'm gonna stick with this big brush, but if you wanna switch to a little one, you can. And I'm just doing, here, I'm gonna switch to a little one. Let's see. Here's just a smaller brush. X's and dabbing. I mean, we can't get any easier than that, right? Just kidding. All right. Let's do some dark in here. Go around the edge. And if you feel like your center looks off, or, you know, there's something about it that, you know, maybe it needs to be more rounded or come out a little bit more, it's okay to do that because the black's going to cover everything we've already done. Okay. All right. Now, the only last thing that you can do if you want to add just a little bit more to your painting is you could use a like a white paint pen, or you could use a small paintbrush and come in around these, the bottom, like the base of the petals, and just do like some little lines. Completely up to you. If you have a darker flower, you might want to use like a darker color, like you could do black, or just a little bit lighter version or a little bit darker version of the color you're using. Nothing too crazy, just some subtle little lines to kind of show that the creases, you know, down at the bottom. And be careful if your black is still wet. Don't get gray in your petals that you've worked so hard on. Okay. All right, now the original had those little swirlies in it. I will show you guys how to do one. I don't know that this one really needs it, but I'm going to show you guys just in case you really like that on there. Let's see what color. I think I will do, let's see, I think I'll do an orange one out of this one. I've got a skinny brush, got some orange paint, and I don't remember what the others look like, but I'm just gonna make a couple. So I'm gonna go in between a petal here. And I'm just gonna make a swoop. So you guys can probably notice I did like the whole thing. I always like to do that, even though I run out of paint. It just gives me that full swoop of the line, so it's not like super jagged. All right, there we go. And then I'm gonna rinse my brush, and I'm gonna do the same with the turquoise, but I'm gonna just do one like right up here. And it doesn't matter like what direction these go or what they do. It's just kind of filling in some of that white space. So I just watered down my paint a little bit. Oop, don't water it too much. Almost got a drip. And that helps to get you a thin line. If you have a paint pen, that will work really well. Even a Sharpie will work too. You have to kind of be careful on the color, but if you were doing like purple or a dark color, okay. I take a little bit of white and just kind of thin that out a little. When you get a line bigger than you want it to be, if you come in and shade it a little bit with some light, it gives it the illusion that it's skinnier. Like with trees or flowers or whatnot. Okay, and that's it. So I would love to see your finished flower, or if you have any questions or suggestions on other paintings, let me know. And I hope to paint with you really soon. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.